When I was really young, I was about 23, 24, maybe even younger, I found out about a guy called John Prine, and he did this too. Back in the 80s is when I turned on to him and obsessed on him. I learned all his songs, and I learned all Jerry Jeff Walker's songs, and then I started making up my own songs. About 1989, John Prine came to Memphis, where I was living at the time, to make some demos. And the Union, the guy named Keith Sykes was producing, and he knew how much I loved John, and he hired me to be the runner. And so I got to watch those sessions, and I got to meet John. And he came to see me play at this place called the Daily Planet. And then after that, him and his wife and his manager Al Bonetta and his wife Dawn, they took care of me till the day those men both died. And people ask me what John's like all the time, and I don't mind telling this story all the time because I like telling people this. Well, first of all, in almost all of his career, he would end the shows with this song called Paradise, and they'd walk off at the end. And he'd always get the opener out there to sing it with him. And the first time he asked me to do it, I didn't have a pick, and he had 100 of them on the table. And I asked him if he had a pick, and he said, yeah, right there. And then I grabbed one, he said, not that one though. That's what John Prine was like. But I'll tell you, my favorite story about John was when he let me go to Europe with him and his band and his tour manager. And I just traveled with them. When we got there, it had been a long, long trip, and we were all tired and cranky and just ready to get there, and we still had a long, long drive. And at the beginning of it, the kid driving us started going the wrong way. And John said something, and the kid said, no, this is right. And then a long time later, that fucking kid, he said, Mr. Prine, I think you're right. And I was in my 30s, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack in anger, you know? And the tour manager would turn red, and the band, very calm guys, they were mad, but John was not close by it. He didn't, and I mean that he was. And he turned to that kid and he said, it's okay, it's fun to drive around. And he meant it. It wasn't because he just read some self-help book or went to church or got sober or any of that shit. He just empathized with that kid immediately, like the kind of person that could make up those songs. You know? And I want to tell you one more, because that was another thing that I just think reveals what kind of guy he was. Most singers, if you give them a tape of your songs, they won't listen to them because they don't want to steal your songs and forget where it happened. It's true, and it happened. So John never really listens to the CDs people give him in his hand as he's walking out of the venue, you know. And one night I think we were in Germany, and there was this guy that seemed like he was about John's age, and he had a CD he wanted to get John. And he put his own cover on it, just a coffee cup he had drawn. And he gave it to John, and John got in the car, and he turned to us and he said, you guys, this guy has a song called Food and Pussy. And I probably won't steal that. Let's listen to it, you know. He puts it on, and this guy comes on and says, what do I want? I want food and pussy. How come? 'Cause that's the way God made me. Is it alright? I guess it must be okay. Ooh, bop, 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 sham-a-lam-a, ding-dong, ding. They just kept going over like that. And it was like watching someone fall in love as John was listening to that song. And when it ended, we played the next one. And when that ended, we played the next one. And then John said, we gotta go find this guy. And when he found him, he said, I want to put this CD out on my label, just like this, with the cover that you drew. And the guy about fainted. And his name is Dan Reeder. He's made 4 records for John. And that's what John is like. One last thing, you saw him on that last tour. This song is mostly inspired by that last tour he did because he didn't play Paradise at the end and walk off. He played Lake Marie and he danced off, and I don't mean casually. I mean like I've never seen him do before. He was flailing around and swinging his butt out and turning his butt around the crowd, and he came first time I saw it. I was crying and laughing the whole time, and he walked up and saw me. He said, "The surprise you didn't laugh." Yeah, I did not see that coming. And it was, I'm not exaggerating, it was profound. And I wasn't the only person there that saw it that way. It was like one of the greatest poets of all time was writing his last poem, and it's just too fucking heavy for words. He just danced around with gratitude, and it was as if he knew it was the last thing he was going to get to do. And he did know that. Before COVID came, John knew that he didn't have a shit ton of time. And he just danced off. And I walked in the I didn't know him as well as I tell everyone that I did. Hell, he was only 50 and I was only a kid. But even way back in those missing years when he was still just catching on, there was nobody better than Handsome John. The next time I saw him, he walked off to paradise. Any way that I would say that I'm still taking for advice, or with a plain spoken word and a simple melody, you can see this whole world with dignity. Oh, boy, look no further from your real chord. Here comes the singing little man from Maywood, Illinois. Oh, boy. Last time I saw him, he danced off to Lake Marie. When I realized that I was crying out in tears of victory, for with a few still missing and a new one coming on, there was still nobody better than a Handsome John. Your real boy. Here come the same big man from Maywood, Illinois. He got that nickname, Handsome John, from himself.